Once again, I'm still wearing this ugly thing. I know. Shut up. There's no footage for this video either. I'm going to try to snag whatever footage I can grab off of YouTube, pictures, whatever, and throw them in here. But I am on a time schedule now. I mean, I have been, but there's always a deadline to hit now. So if these videos are a little lacking in anything, it be what it be. The copyright protection on Tubi for these movies is stronger than I am. And I get it. I understand. But it frustrates me. Crazy how this Blu-ray of Rawhead Rex is just like not visible whatsoever. Anywho, welcome back to Tubiween. I'm back. We're every freaking day. We're doing In the Mouth of Madness today, a movie by John Carpenter. Somebody you heard of. John Carpenter is the director of Halloween, The Thing, They Live, Escape from New York, Escape from LA to a lesser extent, Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Basically, think of any 20 years later amazing 80s movie. Doesn't even have to be horror, it could be action, adventure, whatever. Oh, Big Trouble in Little China. Think of any 80s action adventure movie that made no money at the box office and was critically panned at the time, and John Carpenter probably made it. He was on an absolute tirade during that time, and this movie, I believe, from some people, marks his like slow decline into making not great movies. I couldn't name you any of them that came out after this. I didn't look, but I know there's like a reputation that like this is the last like good one. And I gotta say, if this is where the decline starts, then it's either got to be a sharp drop off or a pretty slow decline, because this movie can rock. Literally, with John Carpenter wanting Metallica for the score, then telling him to f off, so then he was like, all right, I'm gonna make my own Metallica score. This stars Sam Neill, who was an actor in Jurassic Park 1, 3, whatever the newest Jurassic Park, whatever the last Jurassic World movie was with the gigantic bugs. I'm not looking it up, I don't care. Possession, and Event Horizon. This also stars Charlton Heston, who is the co-star of our new marathon favorite Chuck Connors in Soylent Green, Planet of the Apes, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, Tombstone, True Lies, and Wayne's World 2. Nothing but classics for Charlton Heston. So our plot for In the Mouth of Madness is, it's a little out of order, but not so much that you can't figure it out. It basically starts at the climax and then shows you like the events that led to this moment. And the events that led to this moment, which is Sam Neill in a mental institution. Sam Neill is a guy named John Trent, which every time they said his name, freaked me out. His name is John Trent, and they just call him Trent, and it kept freaking me out. He is a fraud specialist. Basically somebody that finds, like, if a company's lying for money and then calls them out and is like, hey, that insurance claim that you're trying to file, it's not real. Like, that's basically his job, is just to find people trying to commit fraud. There's an author in the story called Sutter Kane, who's basically like this universe's Stephen King, except they also make mention about Stephen King and how he can suck a bag of dicks because Sutter Kane is where it's at, which, fair. I don't like Stephen King either, the weirdo. Anywho, Sutter Kane disappears. And now Sam Neill is in charge of trying to find where he is. Sam Neill buys some of his books to see if there's clues, and he cuts up the covers, and it makes a map of New England. That is where all of Sutter Kane's books take place, where Stephen King's takes place in Maine. Oh, it was like Castle Rock, Maine. Sutter Kane's take place in Hollowbrook, New England? I think it's like something like that. It's like a town that doesn't exist. And they go find it. Sam Neill and the editor, Sutter Kane's editor, go and drive to Maine to go find it, and I believe from New York to Maine, from New York to New Hampshire, New England, whatever. It is New Hampshire, and they drive to New Hampshire, and we then get themes of, is what's happening real? Is this in their head? And you're not entirely sure what's real and what's happening. And as we're going through this, events that are written in the manuscript for his newest and final novel, In the Mouth of Madness, events that are written in that manuscript are starting to come true. Like, the whole world of reality is warping itself to make that story reality. And the whole movie kind of has the theme of, like, because they specifically mention, like, the Bible and Christianity and religion in general is that, like, it doesn't matter if it's fictional or not real. If enough people believe in it, it becomes reality. And that's kind of what he's snaking his way through here, is like, because he's the top selling author, sold 8 billion books or some shit, like, everybody has read Sutter Kane, everybody loves Sutter Kane. Enough people, I don't want to say believe in his story, but have read his stories, that it's starting to kind of shape reality in a way where it aligns with his books. It could also be viewed as a way of like people in power can kind of shape the reality of like everyday people kind of thing. It's got a lot of ways it can be interpreted, but the main thing here is reality shifting to the manuscript, and you as the viewer have to try and decipher what is real and what is not. And I don't mean that as a negative, because one of the biggest strengths of this movie I'll get into in just a second, but when the movie reaches its penultimate conclusion, the world is falling apart. Everyone's going crazy. There's like a small group of people who aren't affected by what's been going on. Either they read the book and it didn't do anything for them, or they never read the book and their reality hasn't changed. So there's like a very small group that's like radioing for people. Sam Neill, who has read the manuscript, or at least has been living through the story at this point, he's already too far gone. One of my favorite little things is he's talking to somebody and they're just like, well, what if we just don't read the book? And then he's like, oh, what if you don't read? And then he's like, well, that's why there's a movie. And then the movie ends with him going to go see In the Mouth of Madness movie adaptation, which on the screen starts playing scenes from the movie that you have already been watching, because Sam Neill has, without his knowledge, been in this movie the whole time. And he laughs, and he laughs into a cry, and it's haunting, and then it just ends. And one thing that this movie does really well that I liked a lot is that idea of like, is this real? Is this happening in their head? What is real anymore? It doesn't really matter, and it's pretty easy to keep tabs on what's happening, because the whole movie until like the very end, Sam Neill is very level-headed. So judging by how he's reacting to things, you can kind of have a pretty good understanding of like what's real and what's not. I feel like a lot of movies that deal with the idea of like what's real, what's not, can with the audience get a little too self-indulgent in that, and then it just kind of becomes confusing, and it's like, we've lost the plot completely, literally, in some of those cases. This keeps a really good balance, and I appreciate that a lot. I mean, this is John Carpenter. I expected this movie to be good. I did not expect it to be this good. I expected it to be good. I expected to like it. I did not expect it to be up there as like one of my favorite things I've watched. What I will say about John Carpenter, and this will be a little bit of a telling on myself here. I have a lot of respect for John Carpenter. I really like John Carpenter as the guy who has been 78 years old for the past 40 years. I have a lot of respect for him. He hasn't made a movie in over, maybe 20 years now? He hasn't made a movie in like 20 years, but he just wants to make music, play music at concerts, and play video games, and just smoke 13 packs of cigarettes a day. And you know what? God damn it. That's that. If that ain't living, I don't know what is. I'm pretty sure he became very disillusioned with the whole Hollywood system and wanted out as soon as he could. And I think The Ward was his last one, and that probably was it. And yeah, you know what? His attitude towards whatever Hollywood wants to do with his movies is great, because you can tell that there's some animosity there, but just enough where it's like, you guys didn't get this when I made it. Like, The Thing was ridiculed and made no money. Like, it did terrible. And it seems like his attitude now is like, oh, you want to remake The Thing? This movie that you guys didn't get when I fucking made it, so now you want to make it again? Okay, give me a check, whatever. I'll use this to go buy 14 more packs of Marlboro Red. And that just seems to be his attitude. Whenever they want to make a remake, he's just like, how much? He did do the music for the new Halloween trilogy, and say whatever the fuck you want about those new movies. They are not amazing, but the music in them, fantastic. John Carpenter's a goddamn hell of a composer. But yeah, with John Carpenter, much like David Lynch, I have a ton of respect for both of them. I have only watched one David Lynch movie, and I've only watched two John Carpenter movies, those being The Thing and Halloween. And I need to get on both of them and watch more of their shit, especially David Lynch, who I did not get on that train before he passed, which sucks. It is what it is. Rest in peace. John Carpenter, like I said, he's been 85 for the past 40 years. Who knows how he's doing? But I want to watch more of his movies, because the man himself, I adore. But In the Mouth of Madness, I thought was a great movie. I think it is almost perfect for what it is. I think the only thing that could be improved on this movie, and it's like the tiniest nitpick, but it is the first time this nitpick has shown up in the series, which is I wanted this to be longer. Most other movies, I'm begging for them to be shorter. This one, I wanted it to be just a little bit longer. I feel like it could have went for the 2-hour mark instead of an hour and I think 35. I feel like it could have went for the 2-hour mark because I really wanted more time to just sit with the characters and experience more weird, unexplainable, is this real, is it not stuff. And especially towards the end, it kind of feels like it's a little bit rushed with Sam Neill getting out of the town, and then he's just kind of in places, but that also works because he's not even in his head at that moment, so like there's just blank spaces where he's at like a truck stop hotel, and then abruptly the scene cuts and he's on a bus, and then abruptly the scene cuts and he's back in Sutter Kane's like manager's office, and it's like, what happened there? We missed a whole bunch of shit, but it kind of works because he's not in his head. Like, he is just not here anymore. So that kind of works. I would have been okay with a little bit longer of an ending of everything falling apart and or more of Sam Neill going crazy. I really feel like this could have been just a tad bit longer. But overall, In the Mouth of Madness, just for that little tiny flaw, I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5. I thought this movie was fantastic. I just wanted it to be a little bit longer, which feels like such a weird complaint to have because every other movie that I've watched that I have not liked that much, I'm always just like, please God, just let this end. And this one, I'm like, man, this could have been like 20 more minutes. This could be like a good, cool 20, 25 more minutes, and it probably would have been like, oh, it is what it is. It's great. I really recommend it. I think In the Mouth of Madness is fantastic. Tune back in tomorrow for something a little different, maybe. I don't know. Who are you?
Do you read Sutter Kane?